this. I get to embarrass my friends. So I'm Jim Roberts. I'm the Wilmington startup guy. I run an organization called New, the Network for Entrepreneurs in Wilmington, and I run an angel network called Whale, the Wilmington Angels for Local Entrepreneurs, and I also work locally here for Bunker Labs, which helps military veterans like my friend Tony here become entrepreneurs and hire other additional veterans. So it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Tony. He is the current CEO of two companies, Caramus, which stands for Care I Must, which is a very important way to get to know Tony. He is a very passionate and empathetic person and a good friend of Bunker Labs. And he is also the CEO of GoodBookey.com. How many of you are looking forward to the Super Bowl? Give me a hands up. How many of you love to have bragging rights over your friends? That's maybe a higher number of people. So that's what GoodBookey does. It allows you to make friendly bets between your friends, and then the profits go to nonprofits. So the winnings go to the nonprofits. So if you play your friends in golf, or you want to bet the Super Bowl, or whatever you want to do, GoodBookey is a great way to help nonprofits, but you maintain the bragging rights. So please welcome Tony.
He did it all, so any questions? No, thanks, Jim. It's actually been great to know Jim over the last couple of years when I started getting into the more local entrepreneur space. Move me over here.
Light. Yeah.
Be centered.
You're under the light. You're good.
There we go. Okay, now I'm in the light. Okay, so so we are GoodBookey. Essentially, what we are is we're the redirection of gambling for charitable outcomes. So our business was incorporated to simulate sports-based bettings, where peer-to-peer can make bets on any sporting event where the loser makes a tax-deductible donation to the winner's charity. So as everybody knows, gambling's illegal, and we'll talk a little bit about more of the details about why this strange concept actually makes a little bit of sense. So before we get started, we've been operating for about 2 years. First year was in a bar on Thursday nights. We would just come in and kind of brainstorm what we're going to do. Second year, we started it off by winning a global startup contest in Paris, which gave us about $100,000 in funding, which is the Publicis, who's one of our investors. And then we've been featured in Forbes, and we've had a number of events that we've represented and had some success over the last year or so. So why betting? So how many of you make sports-based bets? I know I didn't actually see the hands go up. Anybody make bets with your friends on golf or Super Bowl or March Madness? So there's a lot of this passive betting that goes on in the United States. The industry is estimated to be somewhere between $300 and $400 billion a year. But what's really surprising is that it's illegal in all but 4 states. So some of you may have heard that this year there's a Supreme Court case, the repeal of the Player Protection Act, which is supposed to legalize sports-based gambling in a lot of states. But until that happens, sports gambling is actually illegal everywhere. But people do it. People do it in office for March Madness pools. People do it for Super Bowl squares. They do it for golf. They do it for a number of reasons. So sports gaming is only legal in 4 states. You know, March Madness alone was $10 billion in bets taken. Super Bowl already was $4.5 billion in legal bets just in the United States. So the money that's being spent on betting is huge. Our hypothesis is that some portion of that is just as much about challenging your friends and the excitement of betting, and you don't really care where the money goes from. You know, if you have a $1 bet on a round of golf, you know, it goes in your pocket, you'd be just as happy to have it go to charity, and then you can brag about it and do some good for a social cause. So GoodBookey, we simulate that process. We're legal in all 50 states. We just actually had our license to operate in New Zealand issued, which is another heavily restricted area. We're 100% tax deductible for donors, so when you lose a bet, you pay a bet, you become a net new donor to the charity, and then it's free for charities to participate. So the intersection of the business that we're in, so we're trying to focus on the fundraising, sports entertainment, and social impact media. Now, the redirecting the existing behavior of sports betting for fun challenges, that's one of the things that we talked about already. Develop passing fundraising for high-impact nonprofits, which is obviously a problem. We'll come back to that. But the other way is to create unique ways for brands to market their social impact and cause awareness. So many of you who work for larger companies know that CSR is part of your organization that doesn't get a lot of traction, but what if that CSR organization can be turned into a marketing event? So this is basically GoodBookey. There's a couple aspects of GoodBookey. So There's a peer-to-peer sports app, which allows you to play pretty much any sporting event for any charity that we have registered in our application and challenge your friends, and that's peer-to-peer sports bets based on the line. So it's all major sporting events that you watch on TV. And on the left side, we have custom challenges, and this is something that we're creating where people may want to bet on things that are outside of sports. They may want to bet, for instance, the Chive, if any of you have heard of them, did a taco eating challenge that we sponsored, right? And so you could bet like a horse race in a parlay. If you don't know what a parlay is, it's bet first, second, and third on who's going to eat the most tacos, guess the number of tacos, win a prize. All the money went to charity. And in that particular case, we raised about $600 in 5 minutes. So we have custom events that we've been creating and that we've been working on. We just talked about the taco challenge, but we also have the opportunity to take sporting events like the McGregor-Mayweather fight, which is a good example where we raised quite a bit of money for charity that night. And then March Madness, which is a way that we can incorporate all this March Madness activity. And we can not only make it for charity, but we can also make it something that a company can promote. So how do we make money? Our mission is actually to raise money for nonprofits. So one of the things that's really important to us is to have a very high yield for the nonprofits. So in doing that, we have send 95% average donation directly to the charity, although it's still 100% tax deductible. So how are we going to make money? Is one, we do take a 3% fee on all donations. So that's a payment processing transaction that goes directly to us. We use that through Stripe. And then we've been doing that for the past year. And this is the year that we've really tried to focus on proving out our technology, making sure that our transactions are secure, et cetera. This year, we're going to start selling advertising spots for custom events, where you can have things like a taco eating challenge or a rib eating contest, which we're going to do in Durham in the next couple months, or something for March Madness, which might be a direct sponsorship. So the Duke UNC game is one thing that we're looking at some people want to sponsor directly. And so we're going to have both of those things closed this year. So the team, Jim made a little bit of introduction to myself. I am a veteran. I'm a Navy submariner. If any of you know any submariners, you know those people are prone to make poor life choices. So this is why I'm trying to do social betting. But in addition, we have a founding team and a really great team we all have very unique different skills. We have people who are in the creative, the marketing. What's unique about us is that we've had 4 successful exits. So a lot of us have worked together in 4 companies and had successful exits in each one of them. Some on smaller scale, some on pretty large scale. And then we've all worked together in at least 2 previous ventures. So we're a team that loves working together, and we just, every couple of years find a new and interesting thing to work on. The customers, right now our customer is the charity. And so the reason why the charity is the most important part of our business model is because we offer a free fundraising service for the charity, a free passive way for them to engage in donors, et cetera. And so the 3 biggest problems, if any of you have been associated with nonprofits, it's how do they raise money, how do they keep their donors engaged, how do they let people know what they do. And so GoodBookey as a platform with our social media extension helps them do all those things, and it costs them nothing. And so the idea is that if we provide the service for them, they'll promote their service, they'll help us with the cost of user acquisition and that sort of thing. So, in conclusion for what we have here today is a couple good things we just wanted to highlight. In the last year, while we're proving out, we did actually raise $10,000 in passive donations to charity. These are in $1, $5, $10, and $20 increments. We were able to do organic user growth week over week of 10%, and that's with very little invested in marketing. We've been doing about $500 a month. We've had organic charity onboarding. 1 charity per month on average has signed up in addition to the 20 that we started the year with. And then 95%, we achieved that goal. 95% is actually 98% this year for charity direct distribution because Stripe was reimbursing all of our fees, which is kind of nice. And we're 100% tax deductible. We're legal in the US, Europe, and New Zealand. And that was actually probably the biggest challenge is getting a license to operate in some of these places. So with that, we'll leave it for some questions, and I'll show you a couple of the custom events we did with the Drone Racing League, and we did something with the ARCA, which is the minor league of racing.
I didn't catch, are you a 501c3 or are you a B Corp? What are you?
We are not. We're a for-profit company. We may actually do a B Corp. We just spent a ton of money on legal this year, so we decided not to worry about that just yet. But no, we intend to be a for-profit enterprise. There's 3,000 plus nonprofits in the Triangle area. We didn't think it needed another one. And
Raise money for them?
that's right. And our intention is to be for-profit. We think that the social impact marketing is something that we can make a profitable business. Right over here.
Yeah, so
What's your onboarding process for nonprofits? I noticed you said you're gonna do one a month. That seems fairly low to grow the base, right?
Well, so that we actually haven't reached out to charities. We did a couple pushes, and so that is organic. That's people just hearing about it, finding us, and an average of one per month. We did a marketing push where we were able to get 20 in a week, and we know that we can get, I mean, there's so many charities in the US as long as they kind of fit our mission. The onboarding process is actually pretty simple. They can go to our website, they can register. We'll create the payment account after we do a verification of their GuideStar certification. So we're looking for a couple things. Is one, we want them to be a high impact nonprofit, meaning there's a specific outcome that they're focusing on. This is so that later we can market on the impact engagement. Like you're helping build a bridge, you're helping books for school, those sort of things. So it's 30 minutes of their effort and then maybe about an hour of our research. Thank you.
One sec.
Good morning. How are you letting people know about what you do and letting people know about your events?
So we're not. That's a good question. In 2018, we are going to be, so for the Super Bowl, if some of you are affiliated with the nonprofits, we've actually created media kits for each one of them to advertise for the Super Bowl to their donors that they can raise money for their charity on GoodBookey. So we're just starting to do the outreach. Last year, one of the things we were really concerned with was missing a payment, because our transaction is kind of complicated, and the fact that we're making it tax deductible, there's some issues that we're just, we weren't ready to make mistakes, so we really didn't spend a lot of time in marketing and exposure. But this year, we're going to start with the charities, and then we're going to be doing campaigns, direct outreach to customers.
What do you need? Oh. What do you need from us? What can we do to help you?
Outside of the time and the logistics and the experimentation, for the games and how do we process the money and how do we get the charities so that they feel good about it, there's all sort of those objectives we just had to work through. The three big problems we have right now is the bootstrap versus fundraise. We know that, marketing is a good question. Like, we know that we need to be spending a ton more on marketing to raise awareness. So that's one thing. Do we have the funds to do that? Do we have to fundraise to get that marketing? We can do the development, we can bootstrap the development, but the marketing aspect is something we just have to throw a lot more money into. So that's one, kind of understanding when's the right time to make that decision. Two is the UI UX stickiness. We know for sure that people love the idea. We know that they love to come in and make one bet, and if they're reminded, they'll pay that bet if they lose. But what we do in our continual user engagement, we don't have people reminded to come back. And so that's something that we're working on in the latest release of our app. But again, this is a skill that we're learning on our own, so we could use some outside help kind of validating our thoughts and our assumptions. And then the last thing is architecture scaling. So if anybody's ever started an application that was supposed to have a lot of users, you do it kind of cheap and dirty, and then the first thing you see is your Amazon bill go up. And we're at the point where we're seeing our Amazon bill go up quite considerably, and we'd like to see a way to not have that happen. So those are the three areas of, I think our current team has some limitations that we'd love some help with.
Right over here.
Have you spoken to anybody at the Robin Hood Foundation about this?
I have not.
Well, honestly, they'll be all over this. The Robin Hood Foundation was started by a bunch of hedge fund titans in New York, and the reason they did it was because they felt that too many dollars that they were giving were going towards overhead and executive salaries within a lot of these mega charities. So they wanted more dollars to go directly to the needy. And so they started Robin Hood. Robin Hood alone has 120 to 150 charities in their umbrella, just out of the gate. And, let's face facts. The guys who are involved with this are all hedge fund titans. They bet for a living.
That's right.
So to me, their egos are so damn big. Just to give you an example, they raise 75 to 100 million dollars at their one event every year. And all it is people standing up and saying, outbidding each other for some, donated prize. So to me, this would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bet $100,000 on the Super Bowl because I think Paul Tudor Jones is he's wrong, and I want to beat him. It's that type of ego thinking. So to me, this would be a home run. And if you want to meet them, I'm pretty friendly with the woman who runs all their real estate and operations.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be awesome. Because that is, again, one of the things when we started this is the legitimizing what we're trying to do, because everybody thinks that there's some underlying, crypto gambling type, if I can coin a new term right now, crypto gambling. You know, so everybody's a little concerned with it. So having a big brand that's something that's kind of endorsing us, that would be super helpful.
Any other questions?
Yeah, are you gonna accept that challenge?
Oh,
I will. And if you download GoodBookey, I am the person that you bet. If you could do me a favor, not do the $20 bet. Just do the $1 bet. I'll accept that bet and pay your bets.
So who you got winning the Super Bowl?
Eagles. Just because hopeful. I know that's probably not going to happen, but I'm hopeful for the Eagles. So right now, all the games in our current release, all the games are against the spread. So there's a handicap, which we actually have an odds feed. And so for the next release, that's one of the things that we found in user testing is that most people don't know how to bet. So we want to make it an option so that you can start with a straight up bet and then you can add the juice.
Okay, so real quick, so you have an app, I take it, and it's for Android and Apple phones, correct?
That's correct. It's in the stores now.
Okay, and is it also an online? Because you know some people just are not with the app thing.
Yeah, that's kind of a key thing for us. If they're not with the app thing, they're not for us. I mean, there's casinos those are but you have to do it on the app because because one of the things that was also important to us in addition to the 95% payment processing is we want the charity to get the money right away. And so as soon as somebody pays a bet in GoodBookey, the transaction splits and it shows up in the charity's account. Plus, the way that we did it, they can download the account register into their QuickBooks, and so that they have donation receipts right away. So it's no labor for them, but that all has to be technical.
Yeah, I didn't see in the presentation where you talked about competitors. Who are you competing against with this?
So right now we're competing with the idea. The biggest objection is that it's not a typical behavior is betting like outside of sports. So there are competitors in the space that aren't doing charitable gambling. There are people who are doing gambling. So you know the FanDuels and the DraftKings. The difference between what we do and what they do is they have to create games of skill. So these are like one-to-many or group things where we can allow some peer-to-peer events. So there's, in the next, with this Supreme Court ruling on the Player Protection Act, there's going to be a lot of competition coming up. So if you went to any one of these gambling casino sites, they're trying to create some sort of technology that will be an entry point into their sports book. So to answer your question directly, we don't have any really head-to-head competitors now, but it's going to be a crowded space in like a couple months.
Hi, I have a question. When it comes to tax deduction, you say you get a tax deduction. Some of the state, when you go to section on the RIS right here, it's section 5138. It says donating money which is like are lost on gambling. It's illegal.
Yeah.
Where am I protected or just donate? Because the RIS will be coming after me because I'm donating. That's what you need to answer for me.
So you're making an elective donation. So this is a simulated process. No, I understand. We've read that. But you're making, in our application, you're actually not required to make the donation. So this is an elective donation process. And so because of that, we're simulating the steps that get you to make the donation, but it's a secondary step for you to actually process your donation.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you, RS can come after me, even though I donated, but they can still, RS can still come after you.
We don't believe that they can.
We'll bet you.
And we'll relook at it, and if you want to send an email, I'll give you a little bit more detail on why we think it doesn't apply to what we're doing, and if still further comments, we'd love to hear it.
any other questions?
I have a quick question about actually, how does the betting work? So if I bet my buddy $20, do I get the 40 and like the 20 I originally put up and that goes to the charity of my choosing? Or do I just or does just his 20 go to the charity?
Yeah, so the way that it works is that, let's see if I can. So essentially what you do is you pick the event, you pick the charity you want to play for, and then you challenge your friend. You can do it like through Slack, you can do it through LinkedIn, you can do it through text message, whatever. Or if they're on the app, you can challenge them directly. They'll get the notification, they can accept their challenge, they can pick their charity. So they may have a different cause. The loser makes a tax-deductible donation to the winner's charity. A voluntary tax-deductible donation to the winner's charity. That's right. So yeah, so no, you don't actually have to pay. Now, donation matching is another feature that's been requested over the last year. So if you do win and they make your payment, you can automatically match. And so that's kind of a way for if you're a big advocate for your foundation. You can basically double your commitment by betting. Simulating betting, yeah, we'll get our language right.
All right, any further questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Jim, make the